Hello, good people. It is so wonderful to be back in studio with you. I hope that you are making it through life and find fashion. And even as I speak those words, I know so much is going on, especially in the United States, but things are happening all around the world. We are so connected. We are more connected than what we think about on a regular basis. And speaking of being connected, I am excited to have our guest here today. Krantz from Bristol, UK, is joining me today. And he is a producer, a music producer, and now he's dabbling in a little video work. He has dedicated a lot of his time as of late of capturing voices of influencers, both titled and not titled, who are speaking not only the truth, but are using their voice to challenge leadership in this country and also all over the world to do better for everyday people from all walks of life. And yours truly is one of those people that he has dedicated his time in collecting my voice through my speeches that I've given over the years and putting those speeches both to music, which is his love and his expertise, but now also to video. Krantz, is so wonderful to have you here. And before we get all the way into it, I just want our viewers to know that they can visit you on Krantz Official. Did I get that right? Is it Krantz Official? On the gram. That's Krantz
On the
Official on
ground.
the gram, and you can see all of his wonderful work. So, Krantz, it is a pleasure to be virtually in studio with you to talk about your work and why you have dedicated so much of your time to lifting voices like mine and others like Dr. Cornel West or Jink Uger and so many others that are in this fight to push the world leaders to recognize that everyday people deserve, and I mean absolutely deserve, to live a good and robust life.
100%. 100%. Yeah, I think what's driven me is the fact that when it comes to mainstream media and the status quo, anybody that tries to challenge that doesn't really have the platform or as much as a platform as I'd like to see. So the whole challenge of what I'm doing is to give a platform to help amplify those people, and you being one of those people, to try to get the truth tellers to be heard in an entertaining and alternative way. So I've really enjoyed it, and it has been a bit of a journey, hasn't it, up to this point?
Labor of love. We talk on and off a lot, text
Yeah,
on and off a lot,
yeah.
and just your dedication to this project is really all inspiring. You do
Well,
not
thank
get
you.
discouraged easily because you are on a mission, and I appreciate that. A lot of what you're doing with my voice and the voices of others reminds me so much of when it's probably been about 20 years ago now, but Dr. Cornel West, his words were put to music. And I
Yeah,
remember just falling in love with that project.
yeah, yeah,
And so even in talking with you and working with you, it reminds me of that, where it reminds me of the Last Poets,
yeah.
a big revolutionary spoken word group that really challenged society about what was going on, about war, about racism, anti-Black racism.
Hmm.
I mean, your work is really giving off those vibes of some of the great poets during the Harlem Renaissance.
Yeah,
People who use their gifts to awaken consciousness. And
yeah.
that's what I see you're doing right now with voices like mine and so many others. Your thoughts on that?
The reason though why I'm using people who are around now, in terms of, there's no point me doing historic figures because they're not in positions where they have the infrastructure or the network to actually enact change. So I could do it, or we could get another artist to do it, but they're not in the positions, which is why people like yourself, people like Chuck Yeager, people like Dr. Cornel West, Bernie Sanders, and others, they're around now. They are in positions where they can actually influence. And the extra little bit that I'm doing is obviously then cutting it up so it sounds like you and the others have performed to the music. And that, I guess, that's the unique side of it. And now I'm doing that to video. It looks like you're performing to the music. So that's the kind of unique, and I think the niche that I'm trying to do, so we can actually kind of break through, get towards people, get to people who would well, usually not actually watch any interviews or watch news reports. So it's just a different alternative way to do something entertaining that can hopefully resonate and plant some seeds.
So it's a creative way to reach people, and we know that music, you know better than I
Mm,
do because you are a
wow.
musician. but music does connect people from all walks of life. It's a universal language.
Yeah, I think it's also the thing about it is repetition. Like the thing about the only way people can change their mind is through introspection. The problem is if you're within a group of people, there's influence. When you recognize somebody's a Republican or a conservative or a Labour or Democrat, people don't necessarily, they're not neutral in a neutral space. But the thing about art is when you're watching or you're looking or you're reading or you're listening, you're by yourself a lot of the time. And it's that chance where introspection can then maybe be stimulated. And that's where music, in particular, with repetition, with choruses that basically say it all. Many hands make for light work. That says it all, right? It's concise. And sometimes people just need a simple message, but they have to hear the passion. And that's where people like yourself and Schenk and Dr. Cornel West, that's why I can use your voices, because there's the passion. And it means that I'm able to kind of utilize that and then work out what type of music it can go to. But at least it's giving of you authentically rather than hearsay. And that's what we need. We need people to hear you. We need people to hear the people who are truth tellers rather than being told, this is what the person said, this is what they're like. And this gives a chance to lead people, I think, to that path, to lead them to you, to lead them to Dr. Cornel West, the people who don't yet know you. And that's the mission. That's the main mission.
That is the mission. So we are going to sample several of my speeches that you have pulled out poignant parts of them
Sure.
and put it to music. One of my favorites, well, your favorite, obviously, we must stand up and speak the truth. What made you pick that one?
I think at the time, the journey has been, as you know, was started sort of 3 years ago, and I originally wrote it because there was the discussion from different people like, Secular Talk, TYT, Rational National, and they were all talking about how they needed let's say, a progressive in Congress who would be strong, who would be unapologetic to their integrity, let's say. And so when you were running for Congress in the primary, I wanted to do something that would really show you in a really passionate and authentic light. And that's why I originally wrote that song. And the subject matter that kind of narrated from what you've said is so poignant. From the past, the present to the future, it's going to be poignant. It's going to stand the test of time. And I think just the whole narrative within the track, it's completely universal and it covers so many different subjects. But mostly, stand up and speak the truth, right? It's a dangerous and it's a dangerous and fearful world, but we need more of that. And that's why I respect wholly people like yourself, Dr. Cornel West, etc. And maybe I'm chucking myself in a little bit by trying to help kind of facilitate getting you to other people, but it's what we need. We need people to speak the truth. And unfortunately, we know many people don't, and that's why we are where we are, and why many people who I know that if they listen to you and sat down with you, who oppose you, but if they sat down with you, they'd understand, they'd get it. But at the moment, unfortunately, propaganda is leading them away from people like yourself.
I agree. If they just, I'm irresistible. How could you resist? Nina Simone, the great Nina Simone.
Yeah, this is for people. Sorry.
I'm named after her.
Oh, yeah.
And she's so fierce, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm so honored. I'm so glad my mother saw that within me to name me after Nina Simone. But she has a quote. I don't have it memorized yet, and I should, but it's something about, how can anybody deny themselves of my company? And that's how I'm feeling. Speak that, Nina Simone. How can anybody deny themselves of our company? But no, I'm saying that in a joking way, but my team often says that about me, and people who have come to get to know me, I have a different persona when I'm fighting the fight, because I am fighting for liberty and justice for all, than when people just are one-on-one with me and they'll say something like, you're nothing like what I see on TV, or you're so passionate, but yet you're so shy and reserved. Sure. And I really care deeply. And I've had many a colleague, Krantz, to your point, especially my Republican colleagues when I was in the legislature, who we didn't agree with anything on public policy for the most part, but they had an enduring respect for me because of my passion and because of my compassion and because I was authentic. So even though we fought politically, they had that kind of respect for me. So you're absolutely right. If people got to know me, they would understand, even if they don't always agree.
Well, and we must stand up and speak the truth. The sentence is, first seek to understand and then to be understood, right? And I'm trying to lead my life more like that, trying to Because, you know, someone is who might be who they are, but why? You know, how did they get to that point? And we need to understand how they got there so we can avoid it for other people, right? So,
Right.
and I know that that's how you will address things, and you will address things with people. And once you allow people to be understood, a lot of fear and hate and their barrier drops down, and
It
then we
drops
have a
down.
chance. And then we have
Yeah.
a chance, right?
It
So,
does. And that particular quote within my speech comes from a leadership guru by the name of Stephen Covey. I'm sure that people around the world who are into leadership, seeking leadership knowledge, and those people who are experts in training people in leadership, Stephen Covey should be familiar to you. If he is not, look him up. But that was one of my favorite quotes from
great.
him, Krantz, because it hits deep and that is timeless and universal.
Mhm.
And it's something that I try to practice on a regular basis. Now I fail sometimes,
Yeah, of course. You're
but
human.
seek first to understand and then to be
It's a
understood.
great phrase,
Oh
and
my
it's
God.
such a great phrase, and it's
It's
one of my ethoses now. I have a
yeah,
couple. I can't say one of them,
yeah,
but people would like it. But yeah, it is one of my ethoses now, and I'm trying to enact that more because I want change.
me too.
I want, you know, I understand hate and fear a lot of the time because people don't have a platform to speak. They don't feel like they're understood, and if you can give someone, allow them that space, you maybe giving them the first time that they've
Yeah.
actually listened to. So
It's
yeah.
a beautiful thing if we can. So we must stand up and speak the truth. You know what? We're going to play that so that people can hear and maybe even see why we must stand
Great.
up and speak the truth. We are being tested. And so we cannot add by dividing. Ultimately, we are all we got. We are all that we have. We are in this together. Some people are disappointed because they are fearful that this nation of progress will be rolled back. But if we sit down and reason together, realize that we rise or fall together, there's nothing that can stop a people determined to make progress. We must stand up and speak the truth. You do what you need to do to make it happen. You gotta agitate, you gotta aggravate, you gotta organize, you gotta get involved, you gotta lift your voice, and you fight for causes that are bigger than you. What really is very troubling to me in this political environment is the level of hate. My God, I've never seen a more vile, vicious environment. It is not okay in our nation to vilify anybody based on ethnicity or race or gender or religion or sexual orientation, because we are a nation of progress. And we cannot turn that progress back. But what is necessary is first seek to understand and then to be understood. To shake up a system and work collectively to change it. So either we work together as sisters and brothers or perish together as fools. We must stand up and speak the truth. You do what you need to do to make it happen. You gotta agitate, you gotta aggravate, you gotta organize, you gotta get involved, you gotta lift your voice, and you fight for causes that are bigger than you. Let me just tell you, Craig, I just want everybody to know I was just jamming to that and just saying, oh my God. I said that, I did that. But that music, I mean, what was the process of fitting my words to such hip and vibrant music? And why did you pick that Those
there's a lot more hip and vibrant music. As you know, I've got about 20 tracks I've done featuring you. So we've got everything from garage to drum and bass, garage, dubstep, bit of techno, hip hop, neo soul. So there's a whole wealth of stuff here too. I think with that track, there was something, I don't know, I was actually just walking and I did the really simple bass line. It's such a simple bass line, but for some reason, kind of thought about it, had a certain power about it. And then all I did was I went through the speech, which is an hour and 15, cut out every single sentence that I thought could be used at some point. Probably turned out to be about 100 sentences, and then started going through the 100 sentences and started piecing it together. Hence why you see that you're in one part of the room and then you're in another part of the room and then you're behind the pillar. I couldn't help that.
I didn't notice any of that because I was so caught up in the music.
Yeah. And so it just seemed to fit. The idea, obviously, as you know, I've done remixes of that because the point is I want your voice to be heard by as big a demographic as possible. So that's kind of like a hip hop rock spoken word thing. But then there's a funky house remix. I've also done a soulful drum and bass remix of that track as well. So it's just a lot of piecing together. It's like having a palette of colors and you're just working like, well, what's going to work and what might not. And you may not have heard, but in that you say organize in a different way to what would sounded right recorded. So I then had to go and create the word organize from somewhere else, which you'll hear on the recording, but not on what we've just seen, because what we just saw was the pure audio from YouTube. So that's you saying it. So I haven't put any effects on it yet. I might do that just to make it sound a little bit better. But that is the pure audio from YouTube and me just cutting the different bits together. So a lot of editing and moving things around. That's why there's little gaps in the video, because that's where I basically move the video along to create the rhythm to get you performing to the track. So
it was very good. So I want to remind our audience, if you are just joining us, welcome. So glad to be back in studio. Virtually, I have joining me is Krantz. You can find him on Krantz Official on the gram. He is a producer. He is an artist. He is a humanitarian. And at the present moment, he is using parts of his gifts, even though I think he's spending almost 24/7 on this, but parts of his gifts to lift the voices of freedom fighters like myself and to put it to music. And now he's even putting it to video. And we just saw You Must Stand Up and Speak the Truth. I was on the campaign trail. Look, I'm all choked up about it. At that time, and just everything that you did, you're pointing out the gaps. I'm going to tell you, nobody's going to know unless you tell us, but you are the artist, you are the sculptor of this. And so, of course, you see absolutely amazing and definitely reminded me. Go right ahead.
Yeah, I think that okay. Because I could sample that, but I don't know how good that would sound in music, maybe. But yeah, I think it's the big picture for me really is we have to get the right people in positions where they can enact change. And name recognition is such a big part of that. And my big picture is kind of really wanting to support as many people. So maybe let's say even if we look at progressive politicians in the UK, the progressive politicians as well in the US, we revolution doesn't happen overnight. Nobody's going to storm the Houses of Parliament. I was about to say nobody was going to storm Congress, but obviously, that's now changed. But it's not going to happen like that. So we need to get the people in positions. I thought differently in the past. And if I can help people, get people who are, let's say, running, like I tried to do with you, but unfortunately it took me 9 months, didn't it, to get through to you. People don't know, but I phoned Washington, contacted every single person on LinkedIn, Facebook, I contacted Jamal Bowman, and I just couldn't get through. It was crazy until the last email I sent when your team got back to me and told me you'd love what I'd done. And then we obviously spoke, but it was too late in terms of for that particular
campaign.
Yeah. And then I know that you got hit hard, and that was one of the reasons why I also wanted to try to help, because I knew that they were going to come for you, and the amount of money that was going to be pumped into adverts, I wanted to kind of give a free advert, to go, please use this. But again, everything was just a bit too late. But we are where we are, right? We are where we are now.
We're moving forward.
We can still enact change. I just need to facilitate everybody who I believe can actually make that happen. And also the brilliant orators, like I said to you the other day, you can do a speech 3 times, 4 times a day. That's amazing. I could never do that, and I respect that. But you can keep that energy up, right? And we need people like you, like Dr. Cornel West, who are unapologetically, keep their integrity. As you've said, what does the tree bear? What is it? What's it been bearing for the year and year after year?
Yeah.
And people will be able to see with your history with Dr. Cornel West, but we need people to know more, as many people as possible to know you guys. And hopefully this will help because it avoids the mainstream.
Oh, we appreciate that. And I could never do what you do. So, hey, we're both in our gift sets. The next speech lyric, I don't even know what to call this, Krantz, but the next one we want to preview with our audience is titled Are My Sisters in the House?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Sisters, right now at this moment, we need more of the feminine spirit in this thing. Warrior women, stand up. Are my sisters in the house? 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 Sisters, I stand before you to bring you word. We who believe in freedom must never rest. But we need more of the feminine spirit. Cause when we move, the whole world shakes. Are my sisters in the house? Are my sisters in the house? Are my sisters in the house? Are my sisters in the house?
Are my sisters in the house? That was at the Women's March.
Yeah.
We were in DC. It was cold as a mofo out there. Hence, I was bundled up in my ivory white hat and ivory coat. Are my sisters in the house? We need more of that feminine spirit.
100%.
Talk to us, Krantz, about the music selection.
Yeah, so I'm unapologetically a feminist. People have taken that word and like they have the word woke and decide to try to change the definition. So I am in the very definition a feminist in terms of equality. I do believe the feminine spirit. I do believe that we can just look at most of the issues across the world. Unfortunately, involves a lot of men making decisions potentially due to their gender. That doesn't mean it both. Anyway, so with the song itself, I heard the Are My Sisters, and it just straight away I was just kind of like, it needs to be drum and bass. And then the vibe of your voice lent itself to a more sort of funky sort of, let's say, vibe. And then I just went with it and just tried to pick out all the bits that were relevant to the subject. Because as you know, I've got a song I've done called My Name is Nina Turner as well, which is taken from the same speech, which has a slightly different sort of narrative to it. And it just felt right. It felt like it needed a high energy, positivity, and like I said, using the way that you delivered that voice, something that was just funky, and I think it works, it's got a vibe,
It has a vibe. That whole day had a vibe to it, but what you have done is just absolutely masterful, and I hope
Thank you.
that this resurrects a spirit in people to keep on pushing, to keep on fighting. We need this. It's a reason why on sports teams they have cheerleaders, because they got a group, no matter if they're up or down, to remind them that they're still in this fight. And that's how I see this music. It is a reminder to the grassroots that this fight matters.
Yeah, 100%.
You're still in this fight, and there is a vibe to being in this fight. Oh my God, I'm so giddy right now. So our next one we're gonna go to is one of my all-time favorites. I mean, I used this line all over the country, and people started to say it to me as I traveled the country during the campaign, both 2016 and 2020, for Senator Bernie Sanders, who was running for president. Many people around the world may remember that. Again, 2016, 2020. Many hands make for light work. And for me, Krantz, it was just to remind people that if we are ever going to do anything that is transformative is never done by one person. There's so many, there may be a cameo, like the one person that gets most of the credit, but you
Sure.
rest assured, if it's monumental, if it's earth shattering, if it changes things for generations, oh, it was many hands. So that's one
Yeah.
side of it. The other side that I was thinking, Krantz, when I said those words is change is daunting at times, especially when you're going against the status quo and you're trying to shake up the system.
Yeah.
But if you have a lot of people doing it with you, many hands make for light work. That's it, baby. So here we go.
When you have the power to be the change, to make the change, to do the good, and you negotiate that away with donors, something is wrong with you. And all the naysayers who talk about what we cannot have, they need to get out of the way of those who believe that it can be done and let us get it done. And if all of us conscious-minded people make a decision right here, right now, that we are going to move in the direction of justice, that we are willing to get comfortable with being uncomfortable, that we understand that revolution is a constant process, that it never ends, then there is nothing on the face of this earth that we cannot do.
I am what I am today because of who we all are.
All of us matter in this moment. Many hands make the light work. So we need you in this fight always.
I am what I am today because of who we all are.
All of us matter in this moment. Many hands make the light work. So we need you in this fight always.
Very reflective music, Krantz. Total opposite from the other two tracks. Why so reflective with these words?
Again, there was such a, it's almost like a desperation in the voice, in your voice in it. It's and again, I guess it kind of was because it was a speech you were giving about Bernie Sanders and trying to plead to people to kind of rationalize and realize what you were saying, you know. And I think that there almost probably was a bit of desperation in that sort of voice, you know, that pleading, and it felt just classical music at the time would just really help that especially the second verse, which wasn't played. There's just a real emotion, a deep emotion about it, that it just felt classical music kind of had to be the one. However, interestingly, I've done another two versions. One is a dub version and one is a jazz version. So the Nina Simone thing would be interesting. And it actually adds a slightly different vibe as well. So the jazz one and the dub one, you sound more angry, you know, and it's interesting to hear the way different music kind of can give a different mood and an emotion. But it definitely, for me, yeah, it was all about just authentic emotion, you know, and what best way to put across authentic emotion to some strings. I mean, strings and piano. So that was kind of how it worked.
Yeah, and I am because we are. It's definitely from the African tradition of understanding that we're all connected, and is pretty much part of an African proverb. I forget what part of the continent it comes from, but the whole concept that I am because we are, you know, that interconnectedness. And I really try very hard in all of my speeches, both implicitly and explicitly, to get that over to people in a way. And I think I do it subconsciously, Krantz. It's not anything necessarily that I set out to do, but it is how the spirit leads me. And that really is life. When the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. once said, what affects one directly affects us all indirectly. If we sit back and think about it, that plays out in our lives over and over and over and over again. Every little thing that affects you directly affects somebody else indirectly. And some of these indirect impacts are life and death. And we're seeing that play out all over the world right now. Thank God over in the UK. Let me big shout out to Jeremy Corbyn.
Yeah, you've
Y'all,
got some other people. There's also Mr. Owen Jones. He's trying to do his bit.
yeah,
One person who I've done it, I know there's can be contention because it's more centre left, but as I've said to you, James O'Brien, I've done some music with him. He's fighting in the right direction. Not everybody's always going to agree. People have
sure.
different priorities, but he's definitely fighting in the right direction, even if there might be some conflicts of interest with other people who I also support. But at the end of the day, you know, as actually James O'Brien says, it's like don't let perfection be the enemy of the good. And I think in these times we got to grab hold of that because there's very simple messaging on the right side of politics. It's kind of a couple of different things. On the left, it's more complex, but we have to
Yeah.
realize, are we fighting the same fight? And if we realize that we are, we just have different priorities, that's okay. But we're on the same side. And I think that's the
Well,
most
I like how you said fighting in the right direction. Lord, if we can get more people fighting in the right direction, that's absolutely progress.
100%,
Well,
100%.
it has been an absolute pleasure to be with you. We'll have
And
to come back and preview more of your work. Where can people find you? And more importantly, how can people help both elevate your work and also donate to this work? Because you're using all of your own time, you're
yeah.
using all of your resources, you're not getting paid a dime from doing this work out of your heart. If people want to help you continue to do this great work, how can they
Sure.
find you?
So yeah, it's one of those things you kind of it's always a difficult thing to ask, but I think the most important thing is to people to share, to get, because the mission is to get you and others to be heard by as many people as possible. And that's why I'm doing all these different types of music. Presently, what people have heard in our interview, not all of it's available, but over the coming months, I'm going to be releasing a lot of it. So support on YouTube, so people can then, when I do post the videos up of people like yourself performing to the music plus the lyric videos I'm producing, to be on YouTube, to help me on Bandcamp. I'm Krantz official on Bandcamp as well. I'm also Krantz_official at Twitter. Got no following on TikTok at the moment, but I think with these new videos I'm doing, we'll hopefully be able to build up on that and to share with anybody they think will want to share you, want to share your voice, that believe in you, believe in the Dr. Cornel West songs are coming as well. They're 4 songs actually, but 3 of them particularly that I've done recently that are strong, and we just need people to share as much as possible. That's the first thing. All the things after will come with that, I guess, in terms of more support. Initially, the aim is get you guys out to as many people as possible, and let's get the messaging out there and get people to know you, get people to know Dr. Cornel West, get more people to know James O'Brien, so that we've got more voices, and hopefully you all influence each other's kind of audience, fan base, following, so that we can connect even more. The UK and the US, we're more so connected to you
We're
in terms of
connected.
influence.
Yeah.
But we need people like you here. We haven't got people like you here at the moment who have a way to ignite that fire of hope in people. People are down, they're pessimistic. I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing. You wouldn't be doing what you're doing if we weren't optimistic. So that's the biggest thing for me, is follow me on my socials. If you see stuff, share it with people you think might like it, who might share it, people who might have platforms that they could share it as well. And let's get the truth tellers to have more of an influence.
That's it. Help the truth tellers have more of an influence. You heard Krantz, just share and like, spread it abroad. This is really a great example of how many hands
Yeah, and it's a
make
symbiotic relationship, right? As
the
well.
light work. Yeah, so please do that. Well, Krantz, it has been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for your willingness to do this kind of work, and you're gifted in every way. The time that it takes to listen to these speeches, not just of me, of others that you admire who are out there doing this kind of work, and put it to music first and now the video. It is a lot of dedication and love for the greater good, and I think it's going to spark. It is going to spark at some point. Absolute pleasure. Cannot wait till we do it again to preview some other speeches and videos.
There's loads.
Oh, go right ahead.
No, there's loads. I've got so
there
many.
loads. I know there are.
We got the 3 bones as well.
We do have the 3 bones, my classic. Everywhere I go, people want to hear that story. Well, it's been great spending this time with you. And to all of you who tuned in to listen to Krantz and myself, we really do appreciate you. Make sure when you see this pop up in your feed to share and like and share. Go tell somebody, tell a friend, and even tell a frenemy. We need music and we need uplift on this journey towards justice. It never ends. And it begins with you, yes, you, me, Krantz, all of us together. pushing to make this world a better place. Do you know who loves you? I love you, baby. Until next time.
Thank you.